Hello and welcome to the Flashback to Inspire series as we relive those special medal moments from the Rio Olympic Games 4 years ago. And one man that really did surprise everyone and blow the competition away was South Africa's Henri Schoeman, claiming a bronze medal in the triathlon. Henri, looking back at that time, I mean, is it fair to say that you surprised people? Did you sort of go into that event maybe thinking, here's an opportunity to prove a point, or maybe give us an idea of how you're feeling going into the event?
Yeah, going into the event, in 2016, a lot of the spotlight was on my compatriot Richard Murray. And so I kind of felt like the dark horse. I felt like, I'm just the other guy there at the Olympics and triathlon for South Africa. And no one really took that much thought, But, for myself personally, I knew that I'd done the best training I'd ever done. I was in my best form ever. The course was kind of suited for a person like me with my kind of tactics. And I mean, I believed in myself. Like I knew, if things just go right, like I can grab a medal. And, I just, I never gave up. And yeah, I think, like you said, I had a little bit of a point to prove. I want to be the best triathlete in South Africa. I want to be the best triathlete in the world. So, I mean, that was kind of like an opportunity to take.
Take us back to the build up to that event. I mean, there must have been nerves. I mean, getting into Rio, the Olympic Village, experiencing your first Olympic Games. Give us an idea of how you were feeling. Were there a bit of nerves? I mean, I can only imagine you going like, "Oh wow, this is it. This is the biggest stage in the world."
No, definitely. Like I think the Olympics, it can either make or break a lot of athletes. I mean, you can prepare 100%, but if your mind is not ready for it, and if you get thrown off a little bit from, the hype of the actual Olympics, you can actually mess up your race. You can mess up your week of events or whatever you're competing in. So for me, I was really fortunate to have my brother kind of follow in his footsteps because he went to 2 Olympics before me, and I was so fortunate enough to witness that. Live with my brother who went through all the experiences through both Olympics. And he kind of taught me after he retired from swimming, leading up into the Olympics, we spoke a lot about what to expect and, what the Olympics is all about, what you're going to experience, what you're going to go through. And I think that really helped me. He was kind of like my mentor. And I was very fortunate enough to go to the Commonwealth Games in 2014. So I had like a type of games experience. So I had that under my belt. And going into the Olympics, I was actually very calm and collective, just thinking about myself, not trying to get, up in too much of the hype, the politics. And also the other athletes like to intimidate everyone else. So they like to throw out their little tactics and throw out their moves and, try and put athletes off, play some mind games. And so you just got to kind of block that out. You can't be on social media too much. And you just got to kind of focus on yourself. And for me, I actually, as everyone knows, like I got sick in the week leading up to my race. And it was actually a blessing in disguise because looking back at it now, the one thing I was thinking about was getting 100% healthy to be able to start. So for me, that was the best thing that could have happened to me. I didn't worry about any other athletes. I didn't worry about the course, or I didn't worry about anything. I was just focusing on myself, getting ready, and I think that was the best way to settle the nerves, not think about anything too much, and I think that was like the ultimate preparation that I could have asked for.
Is there a piece of advice that your brother gave you that sticks with you, to this day, every time you line up for a competition, wherever it is in the world or whatever the stage is?
Yeah, there's one thing that has stuck with me for a long time, and that's process goals. You can use it in a lead up to an Olympics over 4 years, a year. You can use it in a race, but process goals. So for me, in terms of the Olympics, I want to think about traveling to the Olympics, make sure I get all of that right. the preparation leading up to the race, make sure I focus on only that and make sure I tick off all the boxes and get that right. I'm not even thinking about the race. If it's just the race, I'm thinking about the start of the race. Because in a triathlon, we're racing anything between 1 hour 45 to 2 hours. And that's a long time to be racing in. You don't want to be thinking about 2 hours time, or the finish of the race. You want to be thinking about having the best start possible, or even having the best warm-up. Make sure you warmed up 100%, not overdoing it, not under-warming up. Make sure you're getting in your nutrition. And then you're thinking about that start. Make sure you get your position right, get around the buoy right, when you're coming out of the swim. So you're thinking only one step at a time and not thinking about too far ahead because you're wasting energy. So I think that's one thing that I learned from Rion is process goals, just to control what you can in the moment and not in the future.
Take us to that starting moment where you knew, like, this is real. I'm in Rio. I'm about to start this race. Take us to that moment. I mean, you've explained now that you break it into components as you go, and we all know that you're dominant in the water. But take us to that starting line where you're going, oh my goodness, I'm actually at an Olympic Games. It must be a surreal feeling.
No, it was a surreal feeling. I mean, I only got the go-ahead to race because I was quite sick and had fever. And on the day of the race, standing on the start line, I was thinking to myself, I'm actually here and I'm racing. Because, it was scary in the week leading up. Like, I thought I wasn't going to race. I spent my whole life preparing for this day or the Olympics, and I wasn't going to race. So when I was on that start line, I knew that, I've done everything that I can. I've done the training. I've done the preparation. I've managed to overcome this sickness and get to the start line. So I was the happiest man in the world, just doing what I love on that start line, racing the best in the world. And for me, that was I achieved my biggest goal, racing at the Olympics. Well, not my biggest, but I got to the Olympics, I'm racing. Like that was just an ultimate for me. And so I was in a very clear head, mind space. And yeah, I was just ready to give everything that I had on that day.
Is it difficult, I mean, at that point, with the rock stars like the Brownlee brothers, Richard Murray in the event, is it difficult not to be caught up in that hype or to chase them? You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure that you have your plans and your tactics, but is it difficult not to chase and try and sort of keep up with them, if you know what I'm trying to say?
No, definitely. I understand 100%. You're so eager to make sure that you're there in the front and you're with the best all the time, but you also have to think about the process of the whole race over 2 hours, and you don't want to exert too much energy in the beginning. If you're going into the red too early on in the race, you're going to be feeling that when you're running the last 5Ks of the triathlon. So you really have to be smart and you have to be racing within yourself. Although, I mean, it is a race where you're drafting and it's a group together, so you want to make sure you are in a group. So there are certain points where you want to make sure that, is it worth pushing now to be in that front group, or is it worth to maybe hold back and think about a calculated decision that the group will catch up? So for me, I mean, I'm lucky to always kind of be in the front from the get-go with a strong swim. But funny enough about Rio is that I didn't have my best swim. I came out of the water maybe 7, 8, which is not even normal for me at that time. I was always like 1, 2, or 3. And I messed up in transition, struggling with my helmet for about 10 seconds. And I thought I lost the front group. But it was that point in time where I knew that if I don't give everything that I got now, I can say goodbye to the front group, because the Olympics is known for a breakaway. And with the 2 Brownies and some strong cyclists in the front group, I knew it's now or never. So I spent the whole first lap, giving everything that I got. I was passing athletes on the very steep hill that we had to go over 8 times. I just gripped my teeth and I got over there as quick as I could. And on the descent, I probably went down a descent, my fastest I've ever done. And I was the last one to latch onto that group. So, it was that split second where I decided, now is the time to actually make that move. Sometimes you just go on gut feeling, but yeah, most of the time you want to make smart decisions.
I mean, it's a brutal sport with the three disciplines. Did you maybe think at that point, like, oh, I hope I haven't, hit the red zone too quickly and got into a dark place with still your favorite run to come?
Oh yeah, there were a few times. I mean, we had to do 8 laps of the bike course, and of course that's eight times climbing up this very steep hill that we had to get up. And we were getting onto lap 6, and I was gritting my teeth again. And then we got 7 and 8, and it was that last lap. I was just so thankful that I got over there, and I'm still with the group. I was thinking to myself that just finishing the bike leg was also another big accomplishment. I was just so thankful that I've done the bike, and now I can just see what I've got left for the run.
And I mean, that run, just tell us a bit more about that run, because I mean, you had your compatriot chasing you at one point. It must be an excruciating feeling that you're feeling tired, but you're so close. Like there's that light at the end of the tunnel. Take us through that 10K.
So starting the run, I was actually pretty complacent. I was pretty happy with where I was. I think it was a group of 10, 12. And I started running the first lap in about 4th and 5th position. So for me, I was like, wow, this is awesome. This is great. Let me just keep my cool, keep running how I am, get to that finish line. Because, I mean, with being sick, I wasn't entirely sure how I'm going to feel throughout this whole race. And also whether or not pushing so hard in the beginning of the bike is going to affect me. So I was just trying to run my own race, not chase the brownies and Vincent Louis that was in front of me. So they kind of had a bit of a gap of about 10, 15 seconds the first lap, and then Vincent Louis kind of popped off from where they were. And on the second lap, I found myself catch Vincent Louis, and at that point, I surged past him to make sure that he doesn't start running on my heels. And it was that point in time that I realized I'm running in a medal position at the Olympic Games. This is just, it's mind blowing. I got these goosebumps down my spine, and I was thinking, whoa, just relax for a second. And you still got 7.5 Ks to run. Just get to the finish. So it was really tough to try and not get too excited, but I did get a big motivational boost, thinking that, okay, I'm in the medal position and the brownies are maybe, I think it was 15, 20 seconds ahead of me. So I actually thought, let me just push a little bit harder. Maybe I can actually get a silver here. But yeah, they were in another league of their own on that day. And I kind of just used them to try and keep as close as I could during that run. And I mean, with Richard, one of the best runners in the sport, coming up behind, you can't just what's the word? You can't just take it for granted and ease up too much, because I mean at the end he was only 20 seconds or so behind me. So I mean it's it was just had to keep pushing on as hard as I could.
Is it better to be chased or to chase? Because I mean it's a difficult situation either way.
Yeah, it is a difficult situation. I think it's to chase someone when you're feeling good and you're going a little bit faster than them. That's a really good. It's like having a rabbit in front of you and you're just chasing it and a big target. For me, sometimes I race quite well when there's a target on my back and I'm out in front. It feels like you're kind of running for your life. And I found that works quite well sometimes. So it depends on how the race is in the situation.
Crossing that line, I mean, you could see the emotion, you could see the joy, you could almost see, not necessarily with all due respect, disbelief, but you were you almost had to pinch yourself going over that line with the biggest grin in the world, not a grimace, grin. And give us your thoughts as you were coming up to the finish line and you crossed it and you knew that the bronze was yours.
Yeah, it only came at about 100, 200 meters to go because, Richard was coming up pretty close behind and, I had to work really hard towards the end. And, once I hit that blue carpet, it's about 150 meters left. That was the moment I knew, this medal is mine. And it's just, there's not really any words to describe how amazing it feels. You've got the crowd on the side just going, wow. I've got the thought of my family and everyone supporting me back home just going wild as well. And, it's a first medal for South Africa. It's a dream coming true for myself. So there's just so many things like rushing all at the same time. And it's an unbelievable moment. And I will really cherish that for the rest of my life.
Do you feel that your medal in Rio has shone some a good spotlight on triathlons and given the sport a boost and a bit more profile since coming back with that medal?
Definitely. Triathlon is relatively new as an Olympic sport. It began in 2000. South Africa, it's considered as quite a niche sport. So not a lot of people knew about it until the Olympics. I got asked the question quite a lot, wow, I've never seen this triathlon before. What is it about? Like, it looks amazing and like it looks so brutal and like so tough. So there were definitely a lot of people that kind of were educated about triathlon a little bit, and kind of like now they talk about triathlon. So it's a great thing for the sport. There were a lot of juniors just after that medal that decided to get involved with triathlon, and over the years there's just been a lot of interest within the juniors growing up in South Africa. So it's definitely showing a bit of light on it, which is something that I love, and I love to give back to sport. And in South Africa, I mean, it's great that it's picking up slowly, and hopefully it continues to grow.
How frustrating has it been planning for a 4-year Olympic cycle and then having another year added onto those plans? I mean, obviously our thoughts and prayers are with everyone who has lost people during this COVID-19 pandemic. But how difficult has it been as a professional athlete, as an Olympic medalist, preparing for a 4-year cycle and having to add 12 months to that?
It's been quite tough. I mean, I would rather add 12 months than another 4 years, to be honest. I mean, I'm in my prime right now, and to have a gap of 8 years from one Olympics to the next is a big gap in terms of sporting performance. With you only have this golden window so long in your career. So I mean, as long as it's 12 months, it's still fine for me. I mean, you just kind of regroup. Maybe we can be a little bit wiser in terms of preparation. Think of things that we might have did not think about leading into it. But at the time where this pandemic started, and there was so much doubt in the air. Is the Olympics going to go on this year? Is it not? Looking in the news and seeing Australia's not sending their team, Canada's not sending their team. It was just like, what is going on? Do I still push myself in training? Do I hold back? What do I do? Like, it was really tough as an athlete to try and figure out like what's happening. And there was just so much pressure. Like, the one thing I learned was when they postponed the Olympics, suddenly I realized how much pressure there was, and I felt all this weight come off my shoulders, and I can just take a breath. I don't know if it was maybe a little bit surrounding the whole situation about everything, but that's one thing that I learned, is that I thought I had it all under control, but as soon as they postponed it, I immediately realized how much pressure an Olympics puts on an athlete, especially when you've had a past success with a medal. So definitely giving me another 12 months. Hopefully I'll be better prepared with that. I mean, it's obviously it's the best call that IOC could do, and I'm going to be working hard, and hopefully I can figure out new ways to be even better prepared for next year.
It brings me to my next question, because now you certainly have a very big target on your back going into Tokyo. From a mental point of view, how are you preparing for that? Because it's different now. When you took to the course in Rio, everyone was excited, but they didn't expect you to perform as well as you did. And now you're very much amongst the favorites for the medals.
Yeah, thinking back to post Rio in 2017, it was actually not a very good year. Like, I had that post Olympics depression. Like, my results were very up and down. I'll be honest, I wasn't hugely motivated as what I was, leading up to the Olympics. And I think it's fairly common with a lot of people that reach that kind of success. So I was able to bounce back really well for the 2018 Commonwealth Games. And, I just need to think about that experience that I've had with that. And, it's one day of the year that you need to prepare for, and you need to make sure that everything lines up for that day. So, if I can just do what I did in terms of building up to the Rio, having all the pressure and building up to Commonwealth Games and winning that gold, I've done it before. So I've got that experience, which is a great thing to have. Having a target on your back is also, it's part of the game. You've got to deal with the pressure, and, everyone deals with it. So it's just about managing it. I think one thing I can really do is maybe chat to a sports psychologist, maybe work a little bit with ways, techniques to deal with it a lot better. So, that's things that I'm looking at maybe incorporating in the build-up to next year. And, you just got to kind of stick as close to your bubble as possible.
Lastly, what are you expecting from Tokyo? The conditions, the circuit. What do you think you're going to expect when you finally get there?
It's going to be hot for sure. We're going to be sweating quite a bit. Tokyo in the summer, the humidity and the heat is the talk of what we're going to expect during racing. It's going to be extremely tough. The preparation for that has to be very precise. In my Tokyo test event last year, I misjudged my whole taper week with that. I thought I thought that I had to stay in the heat leading up into the final days before the race, and that actually turns out that I was wasting energy like that, and my race wasn't the best or wasn't where it should have been, the way I prepared. So, I kind of learned something, and in terms of preparation for Tokyo Olympics is that, you actually have to be in a cool environment in the final few days leading up to the race. So that's something that I learned. In terms of the course, it's technical. It's nothing new that we haven't experienced. The water is also very hot. It's like a sauna. It's 31 degrees. So I think the water is actually one of the most difficult parts of the race, because if you're outside, you at least get some wind to cool you down. In the water, you're surrounded by this warmth, and usually there's no way of cooling down. So it's just before so after you kind of almost dehydrate, now you need to hydrate and carry on with the rest of the race.
That's fascinating, Henri, and thank you for joining us on Instagram today. We really appreciate it, and thanks for sharing those wonderful memories. We look forward to more memories in Tokyo, and we wish you the best for your preparations, and thanks for spending time with us.
Thanks, yes. I just want to say thanks everyone in South Africa for supporting me. During that day, I heard many stories, and thanks for having my back, and I hope to make the country proud next year.
Well, we look forward to seeing you in action, Henri, and well done on everything. Congratulations on getting married and everything that's come your way, and we look forward to more success.
Thanks, yes.